Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Aditya here. Today we are going to continue our AWS comprehensive course, and the next topic I'm going to cover was Lambda creation using CloudFormation. So until now we have seen how to create a Lambda through console, right? But now we are going to see how to create a Lambda using CloudFormation. So usually they will call it as CFT, that is CloudFormation templates, and how to use those templates to create your Lambda. Now, if you look at this first point, until now we have seen how to create and configure Lambda using console. Now, we will see how to create and configure Lambda using the CloudFormation so that we reuse this configuration for the future development and also upgrades automatically. So the one advantage of using CloudFormation templates, right? The CFTs, the those are called infrastructure as code. You can reuse them for the other lambda also. For example, you just rename the name of the lambda and use the same CFT for the other lambda because you don't want to get or set the same configuration again, right? But if you take console, you have to do all these things manually. And in future also, if you want to upgrade your lambda, you can upgrade one simple configuration instead of whole lambda, right? So that is the use of the cloud formation. So CFT will create resources automatically once we configure template properly. So if you configure the CFT properly, then it will automate the resource creation. Now, with respect to Lambda, we have two types of deployments, like inline code or from a zip or jar file from S3 location. So by using CloudFormation template, right, we have two types of deployment with respect to Lambda. So how to deploy Lambda? So if you have very small number of code, right, you can use the inline code approach where your CFT should have the code itself. But if you have a code with dependencies, right, either a zip or a jar file, you store those in an S3 location. Definitely you have to store those in an S3 location so that the Lambda will reference that jar from the S3 location. Okay, so in this session we are going to see how to do that. So moving on to the next point, that is inline code versus zip or jar from S3 location. So this particular YAML file, if you observe, this is for the inline code. The CFT, that the cloud formation template, follows this particular YAML structure. So here the resources indicates what are the resources we are going to create using the cloud formation. So here I mentioned Lambda function and type. This type is an predefined one. You have to use AWS double colon Lambda function. And properties, right, you can mention the function name. So what is the name of your function? It is AWS Lambda minimal example. Okay, it is a name. And handler, inside your code, right, what is the handler function? So you need to mention that. And runtime, so what is the runtime, whether you are using Java 21 or Node.js 20 or Python 3.12, whatever it is. Okay, you have to mention the runtime. And role, so role, you know, right, Lambda function requires a role. And this hyphen get attribute, what it will do is it will reference the Lambda function role.arn from the Lambda functions role section here. So here you have Lambda function role, right? So once this Lambda function role created, it will get the ARN from this particular role. So that is the advantage of using this underscore get attribute. Okay, what will happen? No, first it will create the Lambda role, and after that it will create the resources usually. So first it will create the configuration related stuff, and after that it will create the resource. So that's why this role will be available when executing this particular code. So I will explain how it will be created later. First we'll continue this. Since we have role available, it will get the ARN and store that role in this role section. And also memory, we set up some fixed value. And also code. So here is the part we have to concentrate, that is code. We are saying zip this file, that file should contain this code. So that is exports.handler. It's an asynchronous event where we are returning the hello world. So this is a simple handler code, just simple Node.js code I just written here. This is an inline code, so that's why we call it as inline code approach. Okay, so this is your Lambda function, that's it. And in the Lambda function role, this is the role, right? Every Lambda function require a role, and we are creating the roles of type AWS double colon IAM double colon role, and we need to provide properties. So what we are saying, for this particular Lambda service, we are saying allow, right? and we are allowing this particular Lambda service to write logs to the CloudWatch. So this is a basic thing, and the below you are unable to see the whole code, but in the hands-on section you can able to see. So this is a small Lambda execution rule or Lambda function rule which we'll use for writing our logs to the CloudWatch. So that is the use of this particular Lambda rule code. And this is Lambda function where you are creating actual resource, your Lambda function. Okay, so moving on to the next code, that is bundle. So here bundle means it may be zip or jar from the S3 location. Okay, so in this example I am taking jar file. So same here, resources, we have Lambda function and we have type, and in the properties we need to mention the function name. So here I mention AWS Lambda Java example and handler, right? Here I mentioned the Java class with method. So com.example.lambda function handler double colon handle request is the handler method for my Java class. And runtime is Java 21. And same we are getting the role from this particular Lambda role and memory. And in the code section, right, you have difference, no? The code section we are mentioning S3 bucket. So which bucket the jar or zip file resides, and S3 key is the actual jar name or the zip file name, and S3 object version. If you enabled versioning in your S3 bucket, then you will have this version number. You can take that version number and keep it here. Okay, so this is the difference between inline code versus zip. Okay, so since we are getting the zip from the S3 location, in this code section you need to mention the S3 bucket key and the version. And one more important point here is you need to always use the object S3 object versioning. Otherwise, right, you have the same S3 bucket, you have the same S3 key, and in future you uploaded the same object twice. For example, you uploaded at Jan 1st, and after that you uploaded again at Jan 31st. Okay, the same file. And this Lambda don't know, right? The Lambda don't know about you uploaded the new version and it will deploy. So instead of that, if you provide a particular version, right, it won't deploy the new version. It will wait until you manually change this object version, so that in production, right, you won't by mistakenly deploy any version. So versioning is very important, and always try to enable versioning in your S3 bucket while doing this Lambda function creation through S3 location. Okay, so that is the difference now. And I'm moving on to the next slide. In this slide, right, I am showing the difference between inline versus zip file, right? The same thing. It is now a little bit clearer. You can see the code I am saying export.handler. So here itself I'm writing my code. And when it comes to bundle or zipped, right, here what I'm saying the S3 bucket, S3 key. And one more important point is the S3 object version also. So if you mention the S3 object version, it will be good for you, because S3 object version, it will particularly point to a particular version of the code, that in future if you upload another jar file also of the same name, what will happen, it won't deploy it until and unless you change anything in your CloudFormation template and redeploy, then only it will reflect. That is the advantage of using the S3 bucket versioning. But yeah, this is a sample code I'm just showing, and I'm moving to the next slide. So Lambda creation or deployment in multiple accounts. So code from S3 bucket. So you have code in your S3 bucket, okay, and in one account, and you have another three accounts where you want to deploy the same code, right, which is in your S3 bucket. So how can you achieve that? So I'm showing you. So you have one AWS account, and here you have an S3 bucket where it stores the Lambda code. So it has the zip file or jar file. Now from the AWS account to, so this is the cross account access, okay, so this is different account and this is a different account, and this account wants to take the code from this particular S3 bucket and run in the AWS account too, right, or deploy the Lambda in this AWS account too. So how did you achieve that? So for that, right, in AWS account 1 we need this policy. So this is called bucket policies. So since this is an S3 bucket, you need to enable the bucket policy and mention the AWS account IDs. For example, this is account 2. So two IDs there in this account IDs. So only then this account able to access this S3 bucket. Okay. And also from the AWS account 2 side, right, we use CloudFormation, right, to get the code from the S3 bucket. this CloudFormation should have a role. This is execution role. By using this execution role, we can able to get the code from the S3 bucket and execute a new Lambda function here. Similarly, for this second or third AWS account, right, it should need an execution role, and also the account has to be listed in the bucket policy so that it can able to access the object, the Lambda code, and it can able to spin up the same Lambda in the account 3 also. Similarly for the account 4. Okay, so that is how you can enable the cross account access to your S3 bucket so that you can deploy the Lambda code which is in your S3 bucket in different AWS accounts. I hope you understand this. So this is the theory part. We'll move on to the hands-on part. For hands-on part, right, I open my AWS console. From here, I am going to open the Lambda. So in this hands-on, right, what we are going to do is we are going to create a Lambda using CloudFormation. For that, right here I am showing I have only two Lambda functions earlier. Now we are going to create new Lambda function here. So for that, what you are going to do is you go to the CloudFormation service. So once you open the CloudFormation service, right, here in the stack section, right, in the stack section we can click on create stack here, whether here or here. If you have some list of items here, then go here and select. So here you have two options, like with new resources, that is standard one, with existing resources. Since we don't have any existing resources, we'll go with new resources. Here in the create stack page will be opened, and in this create stack page you have prerequisite. So you need to prepare template. So in the prepare template we can have different options like choose an existing template, use a sample template, build from an application composer. So if you don't have any existing template, you can select an sample template here like this, or otherwise you can build from the application composer. So if I click here, right, it will open some UI, and in that UI you will have different applications, and based on that you can build your stack. Otherwise you can use the existing template. So in this hands-on we are going with the existing template. Okay, and here the template source, right, here in the specify template section you have the template source where you need to mention where is your template source. You can store the template in your S3 URL also, or in your local location, right. You can directly upload to you can directly upload the template from your local location also, or from a git also, git repository also. This is the third option. So now in this session I'm going to explore upload a template file. Okay, for that you need to choose the file. So I will show you where my file resides. Yeah, so this is the file. So this inline YAML file, right? This inline YAML file is the file where I have this code, where I am creating this Lambda handler with this inline code and also a role, right? This is the role where I am saying allow this particular Lambda service to append or write logs to CloudWatch. Okay, this is the action we are allowing to create log group, log stream, and put log events into those streams. Okay, so I am going to upload this file. So first I need to find out the location of this file. So this is the location. I'm just copying location for reference, and after that I'm going to my AWS console. Here, right, I have selected upload a template file and choose file and paste the location, and here, right, inline.ml file I'm selecting and opening. Okay, so whatever ML file you are uploading from your local system, what AWS will do, right, it will store that in an S3. Otherwise you can specify your custom S3 location also. Okay, so before clicking on next, I'm going back to my IDE and I'm going to show the name of the Lambda function. So the new Lambda should have this name, and runtime should be Node.js, and this code should be displayed there, and it has to create this Lambda function, Lambda role, Lambda function role, or a Lambda execution role, and it will work, right? We'll see. Now I'm clicking next. Now it is going to specify stack details section. You just give a name. So I am giving test minimal or text inline Lambda. Okay, test inline Lambda, and I'm clicking on next. And here you need to configure stack options like tags, permissions. These are all no need. So just click on next, and we have this review and create. Just go scroll down and just create it. Right, before creating, you have to acknowledge the AWS CloudFormation that it might create IAM resources. Since you are creating a Lambda function, you have to create an execution role. Execution role is an IAM resource. So it will definitely ask you for this acknowledgement. So I am acknowledging. You can create IAM roles on behalf of me. So I am submitting it. So once I submitted it, you can able to see it is started creating. So test inline Lambda is in progress now, create in progress. And here I can uh, refresh it. It is showing it is creating my Lambda role. So I will maximize a little more. So what it is saying, user initiated this test inline Lambda CFT, and after that it is started creating the Lambda function role. And now in the Lambda function role, the other status is resource creation initiated. We'll see. Yeah. So Lambda function role got created successfully. Now Lambda function role got created successfully, and after that Lambda function creation initiated, and this Lambda function got created successfully, and finally the test inline Lambda CFT completed successfully. Now to validate that, go to the functions and refresh it. Here you can able to see AWS Lambda minimal example with Node.js as its runtime. And if I open here and go to the code section, right, we can able to see our handler, what we have mentioned in that code. Go to index.js and see we are writing our export.handler async event return hello world. Okay, so your Lambda function got created through CFT. And good thing is here you can see this function belongs to an application. So that means since it's created through an CloudFormation, it is treated as an application, not a simple Lambda function. So it's an stack of application, right? It has Lambda role, and after that Lambda, right, and CloudWatch permissions. So all this could be merged in an application. And if you delete this stack, right, here you have delete option. If you delete this stack in the CloudFormation, all these resources created through CFT or CloudFormation will be deleted automatically. So no need to go for each and every resource to delete or clean up your resources. You can directly click delete here. Okay, so first we will test this code. So I'm coming to my AWS Lambda minimal example where I can test it. So I'm clicking on test, and we need to create a test event, right? I'm just creating a test event and saving. And now I will test the code and we'll see the result. And here, right, you got the response. So in this example, we have seen how to deploy a Lambda function using the CloudFormation, that is inline way, right? Now we will deploy the same thing by using bundle in the sense code. So for that, right, I'm going back to my IDE and see the bundle.aml file. So here I have example the same thing, right? We have this handler and Lambda role, right, and S3 bucket. So earlier we used to have this bucket. No, I have this bucket, and also S3 key is the my jar name, and I took the version ID from the S3 bucket. Okay, so for simplicity, what I'm going to do is I will create the S3 bucket again and enable versioning again, and I will upload the jar again. I will show you for the better clarity. So for that, I'm going to AWS account and I'm going to open my S3. So S3 is opening. So I am going to create another bucket. I will call it as test bundle. Okay, and I'm going to keep everything same except the versioning, because I need to enable versioning. Okay, and after that I'm going to create the bucket, and it seems test bundle is already exists, so I'm giving -007 and create bucket. Now bucket is getting created and bucket is versioned also, right? To see whether version enabled or not, you can go to the property section And here in the bucket versioning section, right, you can able to see bucket versioning is enabled. Okay, fine. So I'm going to upload my jar here now. So I'm clicking here upload and add files, and I need to upload my jar, right, which is in this target folder, and you can upload your zip file also. I'm uploading it and upload, and it will take some time to upload, right? It's 5 MB file, so it will be quick only. So file got uploaded successfully, and I'm closing this folder. So that's it. So we have created test bundle bucket. In that key is this one, my function. And if you go to versions of this particular function, you can able to see the version of that particular object. So if you insert the same object another time, right, you will get another version. So for every new object of the same instance, you will get different versions so that you won't miss them, right? So the previous version should always be available in this version until your lifecycle methods ends. So you can set your lifecycle methods, how long your version should live. For example, if I uploaded the same file 2 times, the first version should live up to 1 day. Like that you can set up. Otherwise, all the versions will make your S3 bucket huge, right? So we need to add lifecycle also, and in future S3 session I am going to explain them in detail. But yeah, just now ignore it. Just remember, in the version section you will have this version ID, and this is your bucket name, that is test bundle 007, and this is your key, S3 key. Now we will update these things in our YAML file. So I'm copying this test bundle, okay, and I'm replacing the bucket name here with the new bucket which we created, and also I'm going to copy the key name. This is the S3 key, that the actual jar or zip file, and I'm copying and pasting here. And finally we have to add our bucket version. So go to version section of this particular object and copy this S3 object version key and just paste it here. Okay, now we are good, right? Our new bucket, new jar, and new version ID has been replaced here, and the lambda function role is same simple lambda function which allow this lambda to write logs to the CloudWatch. Okay, now we will try to create this AWS Lambda Java example through CFT or CloudFormation. So for that, go to your CloudFormation stacks, right? And you have already one stack available, that is test inline lambda. Just go back to the stack section, and in the stack section, right, again try to create a new stack. So for that, use an existing template and upload a template file and choose file, right? You have to choose your template file. So for that, I'm finding the location of this bundle.yaml file, and I'm revealing in file explorer and copying the location and going back and searching for the bundle.yaml and just opening that and click on the next button here, right? Before enabling the next button, the template what we are uploading, it will be stored in this particular S3 location for CloudFormation. So click on next, and in the stack details I can say test bundle and next. So we are not going to add anything. Click on next, and finally accept, right? Acknowledge that AWS CloudFormation might create IAM resources, and after that click on submit. That's it. Now it will use the CloudFormation, use the CFT, the template what we have given, and create the resource for us. So we'll wait and see. So I'm clicking here refresh button, and you can able to see, right, execution role started creating, and again I will click, and this execution role for started creating, and after that resource creation initialized for the same lambda function execution role. Like that, it will create the lambda function and add that execution role to the lambda function also. So we'll see. Yep. So you can able to see, right, lambda function role created successfully, and also lambda function creation started, and lambda function created successfully, and after that finally test bundle also created successfully. So test bundle CloudFormation execution completed successfully. Now we'll go to the lambda functions and see whether the lambda function created or not. So for that, go to this functions and refresh it, and you can able to see, right, a new lambda function got created, that is AWS Lambda Java example. And if I open it, right, in the top you got the same pop-up, that is the function belongs to an application. Since this is created through CFT or CloudFormation, since all the roles, CloudWatch, and also Lambda should be in a stack, so that if you delete the stack, everything will be deleted. Okay, so for this, the code section, if you see, since we are adding the package, it won't show the code here. But if you see the package size, that is 5 MB. Now we will test this Lambda function, how it will works, right? So go to test section, and you have to create a sample test event because it's a new Lambda. Yeah, because I just directly go to test and click on test, it's working. But if you go to code and click on test, right? But here it is not available because code editor is not available. So you have to go to directly test and click on test. And here, if you see the details, it executed successfully. You got status quo 200. Okay, so you deployed your Java file successfully from an S3 bucket using the CloudFormation. Okay, I hope you understand the lecture and I hope you like this. Thanks for watching my video. If you like my video, like, share and subscribe and let me know in the comments if you want to learn more. Thank you.